I saw a gun. I said, what's going on out there? And he turned the gun straight at us and shot. And my God, the window went out. And the kid standing there with me, I think he got hit.
We've got help on the way, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, God.
Stay in line with me.
Oh, God.
He's shooting in the library right now. He's firing shots from the library. Firing shots in the library. Our way. Do we need to leave? Okay, hold on here. I'm going to have to try and get out of here and call you back. Okay. Call them before trying to find out where I'm supposed to go and put me on hold for a minute. Hi, it's Wendy at CNN still. Sir? Okay, calm down, okay?
Well, I think we're entitled to information as parents on where our children are.
We have a lot of units out there right now.
Tell me I can't get anywhere near it. I want to find out how.
In 1999, we were shocked by the Columbine High School shooting. 24 years later, in 2023, there were 9 times as many gun incidents at schools. School shooter drills are now a normalized part of the school experience. The United States has more guns per capita than any other country. In its 2018 article that compared gun ownership by country, Vox reported that the U.S. had more guns than people, twice as many guns as second-place Yemen. And compared to Canada, more than 3 times as many guns and nearly 6 times as many gun homicides. Adam Langford has studied mass shootings for decades and reports that the United States accounts for 62% of the world's shootings that occur at school and work. Among our 50 states, the higher the percentage of gun ownership, the higher the gun death rate. Compared to countries with similar economies and population, the United States, with the most guns per capita, has by far the highest gun homicide rate, including the highest gun death rate for children. Still, the CEO of the NRA maintains that only guns can stop gun violence.
The only way, the best way, the surest way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, is a good woman with a gun. Whenever a good guy with a gun runs toward the gunfire, the madness stops quickly.
The New York Times article, Who Stops a Bad Guy with a Gun, reports how the shooter was neutralized for 433 mass shootings. 184 of those shootings ended after police arrived and the attacker was subdued, shot, or committed suicide. But 249 of the shootings, 58%, ended before police arrived at the scene. In 64 of those incidences, a bystander subdued or shot the attacker. But in the other 185 shootings that ended before police arrived, the attacker just stopped shooting and fled the scene or committed suicide. That is, 43% of all 433 shootings ended without good guy intervention. LaPierre's simplistic trope about some Hollywood good guy arriving in the nick of time disregards the fact that police are called to a mass shooting because shots have already been fired. And with those first shots, someone's parent, friend, or child has already been injured or killed. On March 27, 2023, Audrey Hale carried 2 rifles and a pistol up to the doors of the Nashville Covenant School and shot her way into the building. To protect students from the killer, the head of the school, Catherine Kuntz, confronted the shooter in a hallway. Later, that is where Kuntz's lifeless body was found. Others murdered were a custodian, a substitute teacher, and 3 9-year-old children. Tennessee's U.S. Representative Tim Burchett responded to the shooting.
3 precious little kids lost their lives, and I believe 3 adults, and the shooter, of course, lost their life too. So it's a horrible, horrible situation, and we're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals, and my daddy fought in the Second World War.
The 2023 World Population Review ranks our 50 states for the strength of their gun laws and includes gun law grades assigned by Giffords Law Center. At 22.8 gun deaths per 100,000 population, Tennessee has one of the highest gun death rates. Here is a scatter plot of the 2023 World Population Review data. Along the x-axis, the higher ranking numbers represent more leniency of gun laws. On the y-axis, numbers represent the gun death rates for states. Here is F-graded Tennessee with its gun law ranking of 38th among the 50 states and its yearly gun death rate of 22.8. Tennessee has Republican majorities in both legislative houses, so I indicate its place on the graph with a red dot. Just 350 miles away from Tennessee, the more densely populated Illinois has a gun death rate of 16.1. Illinois received an A- grade and is ranked 8th best for its gun laws. Illinois has Democratic majorities in both legislative houses and so indicated with a blue dot. Arkansas is rated as having the most lenient gun laws and has a gun death rate of 23. With Republican majorities in both legislative houses, Arkansas is indicated with a red dot. California is rated as having the most rigorous gun laws. Massachusetts is ranked 6th for its gun laws and has the lowest gun death rate. With Democratic majorities in both houses, Massachusetts and California get blue dots. Mississippi has the highest gun death rate, with Republican majorities in both houses, a red dot. Pennsylvania's House of Representatives has a Democratic majority and its Senate a Republican majority. Pennsylvania gets a purple dot. Here are the dots for the other 43 states, with colors to indicate the makeup of their respective legislative bodies. Gun death rates are higher among states ranked as having the most lenient gun laws. Further, the bottom 10 ranked states have an average gun death rate more than 2.5 times higher than the top 10 states. This graph-related information is consistent with research that reports that gun laws are effective in reducing gun death rates. Colorizing the dots of the scatter plot reveals that states with Democratic majorities in legislative houses are more likely to legislate gun laws that lower gun death rates. At the time of the 1999 Columbine shooting in Colorado, the minimum age to purchase a gun was 18. However, the 17-year-old shooters were able to get adult friends to buy their guns at gun shows. Since then, research has shown that background checks can reduce illegal gun purchases at gun shows. In August of 2023, Colorado legislators passed a law to make the minimum age for gun purchases to be 21. But the law was blocked while a lawsuit that challenges the law proceeds. Additionally, the Columbine shooters had unfettered access to their guns. In 2021, Colorado passed a law that requires gun owners to safely store guns so that guns are inaccessible to children and prohibited persons. After the Nashville Covenant School shooting, Police Chief John Drake said that shooter Audrey Hale was under medical supervision for an emotional disorder. Drake added that Audrey's parents felt that she should not own guns. Just before the shooting occurred, a friend, fearing for Audrey's life, contacted authorities. But Tennessee does not have a red flag law, so even if parents or friends in Tennessee warn authorities about people who might be a threat to themselves or others, there is no legal means to petition a judge to temporarily remove their guns. In the decade between 2011 and 2021, the Tennessee gun death rate increased by 58%. And yet, the Republican-led Tennessee General Assembly continued to abolish gun safety laws. Children in Tennessee have a gun death rate 36% higher than the rest of the nation. Yet on the same day that Nashville residents experienced the shock and horror of the Covenant School shooting, in Tennessee, the minimum age to publicly carry a handgun without a permit was lowered from 21 to age 18 years old. In contrast to Tennessee, after the Uvalde, Texas, Robb Elementary School shooting, Republican John Cornyn risked his standing as a U.S. Senator for Texas by leading a bipartisan effort to pass modest but significant gun safety laws. 5 Republican representatives from Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and Michigan also voted for the legislation, reported to be the most significant gun legislation in 30 years. But the graph of states' gun death rates reminds us that Republican legislators too often reject gun safety legislation as a means for preventing gun violence. In the early 90s, California's gun death rate was substantially higher than the rest of the country. It took years of layered legislation for California to reach the point that its gun homicide rate was 38% lower than the national average. Lawmakers are aware of national death rate statistics. They may deny it, but they know that compared to other countries, our nation's unfettered access to guns is the root of our gun violence epidemic. And they know that gun safety legislation, where implemented, prevents gun-related tragedies. Republican indifference to gun violence and the related gun death rates suggests that Representative Tim Burchett speaks for the Republican Party.
So it's a horrible, horrible situation. And we're not going to fix it. We're not going to fix it. We're not going to fix it.
And as the public has hoped and waited for the fix, public safety at theaters, concerts, malls, and grocery stores has been sacrificed. And we submit our school children to shooter drills that will always be coupled with a foreboding reminder that a shooting at their school could someday be real.
The teachers at the Sandy Hook Elementary School had been trained to react to a threat, never expecting to use that training.
By 10:30 a.m., police and teachers escort groups of traumatized students out of the school, kids who give the first indications of the terrible scene inside.
Our teacher held the first person's hand and she let us out.
Did you keep your eyes closed?
Yes.
The whole time?
Mm-hmm.
As news trickles out, the worst becomes obvious. Not all of the reunions between parent and child will be happy ones.
Yeah, these units in the school, I got bodies here.
If Connecticut had a safe storage law in 2012, the Sandy Hook school shooting might have been prevented. Whether victims are present or remote, the residual of gun violence can be a lifetime of grief. Mark Barden and Nicole Hockley channel their grief as advocates for gun legislation. Living victims of gun violence suffer from depression, anxiety disorders, and substance abuse disorders. Students who experience school shootings have more school absences, are less likely to graduate, and less likely to be employed. Not surprising, the closer the proximity to the gruesome effects of a shooting, the greater the risk one has for long-term PTSD symptoms. We need lawmakers who are not indifferent to the effects of gun violence and who will promote the general welfare of the public. We need lawmakers who will help ensure domestic tranquility in our schools. Then we can abandon school shooter drills that are harmful to children. Gun safety legislation is the viable, relevant means for doing that. Thanks for watching.